Hello everyone, and welcome to another beer review. Now, we're all kind of back and settled now from Copenhagen, and yeah, it wasn't a bad trip. I quite enjoyed it. There were some things that, well, hey, wasn't so enjoyable, but that's the problem when you go in to other countries and you stay in hotels. Unfortunately, you get to kind of interact with other tourists, and not all tourists are created equal. Not all people in the European central countries are particularly nice. So there you go, but I'll elaborate in a minute. Now today we're doing, we're doing a beer from Stewart Brewing, and it's a pale ale, and apparently it was Scottish Brewery of the Year in the Scottish Beer Awards, and it's called Hollyrood Pale Ale. I presume after the Hollyrood Parliament, I would say. But I'm sure there's something in it. Now, what is it? It's kind of sticky, the bottle. 5%, 500ml bottle, textured label. An easy drinking pale ale packed full of American hops, providing a tangy citrus aroma and flavour. I should read these bloody bottles, seriously. God. I knew it was too good to be true. I'm thinking, well, Scottish brewery actually doing a pale ale. Oh well, I'll give it a go, see what it's like. But no, they've always got to take the American bent and that type of stuff, you know, so they can hide their mistakes with lots of citrusy New World hops. How marvellous. With a moderate bitterness and flavour, our craft beer remains unfiltered, unpasteurised and uninterested. I mean, sorry, that's just keep that going. Anyway, family run Scottish brewery with great taste and exceptional, with great taste and exceptional beer and sustainable, innovative and community-led principles, connecting people through quality beer. I mean, seriously. Do they masturbate over pictures of themselves? I mean, you read that and you think, seriously, somebody's got an ego. Oh, great taste and exceptional beer. And I'm no doubt they'll be classing their own beers well within that exceptionability, you know? Absolutely. Oh, marvellous. Yes, there you go. So it doesn't really say anything else about it. Produced using carbon capture, brewed using solar energy. Oh my God, seriously. Where does the water come from? What do you do with the water when you actually wash out, you know? Does that just go down the drain? Or do you refilter it and reuse it again? Bet you don't. Anyway, I'll crack it open to see what it's like. But also, because this is a Wednesday video, because not that daft. Pale ale, Scottish. Definitely a Wednesday video. So we've got Deanston Highland single malt Scotch whisky. This is a kind of slightly waxy one. So yeah, it's virgin oak, built on the River Teith, driven by water power, re-established as Deanston Distillery. There we go. So it was Deanston Mill it used to be, and then it became Deanston Distillery. Well, we've combined the very best ingredients from our local area using traditional methods to create a unique single malt that embodies our community spirit. There you go. So it's non-chill filtered, no added colour. But wait a minute, you're not allowed to add colour to flipping single malt anyway. What the fuck's that about? That's one of the things you're not allowed to do, is add colour. And finish in virgin casks. So there you go. What else is there? So it's basically 46.3% alcohol, ABV. Open Deanston virgin oak to awaken aromas of heather, honey, vanilla and green apples, citrus zest with hints of sweet malt, spice, pour, sip and savour. flavoured of candied fruits, vanilla, ball-and-bag shepherd's pie, soft creamy toffee, Jesus flip-flops, you know, Lorraine Page's underwear, and a little bit of sweet oakiness that rolls over your tongue. Just, I mean, unfortunately, the whisky industry is very much like the beer industry. You know, you're limited by the type of ingredients, you're limited by the process, but by God, you're not limited by your imagination of what the fuck you can think you can taste in it, seriously. But anyway, we'll have a little taste of this. We'll tick off what flavours that are actually there. Right, anyway, let's get these guys. I mean, seriously, don't get me started. Oh, Jesus, it's all imagination and kidology. Oh, they can taste everything, you know. Oh, I can taste the dead DNA of Gladstone. You know what I mean? What a piss. Anyway. Oh, you can smell Robert the British jockstrap. Oh. And people think, oh, I can taste it, You know what I mean? Oh, fucking seriously. Some people are so easily swayed, aren't they? Tell me lies, tell me more lies and more. Right, anyway, let's get this poured. So yeah, as I was saying, the Copenhagen was very nice. The Danish people are very nice, very friendly, very helpful. The hotel was very nice and very helpful. The problem is that's one of the reasons why I usually try not to stay in hotels. So I should travel about quite a lot with my work. And one of the things was I had to stay in hotels. And first thing I realised that staying in hotels, especially kind of more kind of business oriented hotels, is that there's a lot of pricks out there, a lot of pricks working corporate companies. And I just thought it was the company I worked for was full of pricks, but no, apparently all the other companies are full of pricks as well. And they start early, by the way. You get down there for breakfast and oh, they just can't wait to show the prickness, you know what I mean? The prickiness, oh, look at me, I'm an absolute arsehole, you know, and it's like that. And then come back in at night, you think, well, I'll have a couple of beers and that, and then I'll go for dinner. Oh, and they're there again, seriously. You know, you just like to think, oh, I could go and get some petrol and just set the whole fucking place alight and just, you know, make the world a better place. And it's the same when you go to tourist hotels. And, I mean, as an example, which is quite an interesting one, there's quite a few Italians when we first arrived. Oh, and they had come up with this great idea of, during breakfast, is let's have conversations at the top of their voice, on the mobile, on loudspeaker. Like that. And it's ridiculous. I mean, you're thinking, seriously, get to fuck, you know? You ignorant bastards, you know? It's just not acceptable. It really isn't. You know, you feel, you want to take the phone off and just fucking hit them with it, you know? Just pricks. Absolute fucking selfish, inconsiderate pricks. And then, unfortunately, halfway through our stay, 2 busloads of fucking Germans came in. Jesus. Now, I've got no problem with Germans in Germany. I find they actually behave a lot better in their own country than they do in other people's. And I'm sure quite a lot of people from certain countries would agree with that. Especially the last major holiday, you know, around about the 1940s. Oh, fuck, you know. Some say they actually outstayed their welcome, you know what I mean? But yeah, but just, oh, fucking serious. They're just so ignorant and so rude, you know, and they just don't give a fuck. And luckily, I was there with the youngest boy, because there was one incident, oh, seriously, I was going to kick off, and the younger boy was giving me the looks of, you know, just let it go, you know what I mean? Because seriously, I was going to put a rake of fucks right through them, seriously. I was going to remind them why, you know, the majority of Europe and the world fucking hated you, and it was for a reason, and don't still think it was a fucking swastika that fucking caused that, you know what I mean? So yeah, I was going to kick right off their faces, because it was just unacceptable what they were doing, you know what I mean? And it's just, yeah, just no consideration for other people. Just do what they want, act the way they want, and fuck everyone else. And even simple things that I noticed, It was a buffet style breakfast, so obviously there were people going around picking up your plates and cleaning the kind of empty plates away from your table if you're going to go back up and get more or whatever and things like that. And I always make a point of passing the plate over to anybody that's come to collect it and that, and I always say thank you to them and everything else. Because at the end of the day, show them a bit of respect, you know, they're just doing their job. No, between the Italians and the Germans, everyone's basically sat round about, nah, not interested, just, yeah, you know, it's your fucking job. Go on, do it quickly. You know, that kind of scenario. And not one of them would even fucking acknowledge them, never mind fucking say thank you or any of that type of stuff. And make them walk round the table. If, you know, instead of, oh, I'll pass this over to you. No, fucking walk round and get it. I don't know. I'm not going to fucking help. You know, that kind of stuff. You know, you're just pricks. But it's quite interesting because the week before we went away to Copenhagen, the wife and the youngest boy were in Napoli. They were in Italy and Pisa and Florence and that. And one of the things is the wife turned around and said that, yeah, she was not enamoured with Italians either. She thought they were a bunch of ignorant bastards as well. So there you go. So not just me. Quite interesting that one of her school friends from Russia loves Italy and used to love going to Italy all the time. Oh, it's me and the Italians. Oh, there's a connection there, you know, that kind of bollocks, you know. And she's a nasty wee bitch, so she is. You know what I mean? So it doesn't surprise me she gets on well with the fucking Italians, you know, because I fucking hate her. I absolutely fucking hate her. And I've told the wife this, and anytime they're like, yeah, you can go and do things with her. I don't fucking want to. I fucking hate being in the fucking room with her. Fucking scraggy old cow. Anyway, shall we see what this? I'm putting it off. After reading that label, I thought, I'll tell them a wee story and hopefully forget about it. You know? But no. So you can see it's a kind of very clear, not much carbonation showing up on it. But yeah, very clear, kind of a light golden colour. Yeah, well, yeah, I'm getting citrusy and hops. Get a little bit of grapefruit notes. A little bit of grain, maybe some light malt. So I'm getting all that. Why am I wasting time with this? Seriously, get this whipped open. Get it whipped open right now. I'll see what this is like. Oh, you bugger. Oh. Oh. And we'll pour a wee dram of this as well. Goes a weasel. You know what I mean? We'll try a wee bit without water, and we'll try a wee bit with water, and we'll see what it's like. Jesus, I'm kicking that off, look. Yeah, I'm getting candied smells. Give me a little bit of green apple. But anyway, let's see what this biggie box is about. A little bit more carbonated than I thought. Oh, there's pininess at the back end. Oh, God. Oh, that's constricted my underwear. Oh, it's constricted it. Oh, fuck. Bollocks. It's alright. It's a bit piney at the back end, which is I hate. And then it's hanging about a bit. Malty feels okay when you drink it kind of slowly, but see if you try and neck it, it just all kind of builds up right at the back of the mouth, right at the back of the throat. You're sitting thinking, it goes all foamy on you and everything. You're thinking, oh, for a pale ale, which is supposed to be a more sessionable beer, it doesn't look particularly carbonated. Look, you don't see much effervescence going through the glass, but it's there. I mean, some of the flavours are actually quite nice up until you get to that kind of pininess at the back end. I would say that the citrus kind of side of it's actually not too bad. Just that little bit of pininess that annoys me at the back end. Not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Oh God, I'm going to move this. My leg's jammed. Oh yeah. That's it. Yeah, there we go. Right, shall we try this bugger, see what we're getting. Try it a wee bit straight. Little hints of vanilla. Not really getting, I can smell apples, I'm not really getting any kind of green apple kind of flavours. A little bit of vanilla, maybe a little bit of spice. And that's really it. Again, a lot of flavours being lost to the alcohol burn. Which is one of the things, you know, you see people basically getting ramped up with the whiskey. And it's all knocking it back straight and telling you, oh, I'm tasting this and I'm tasting that. And you really... There's a little bit of candied sugar in there as well. We try a little bit of water in it. So let's see what it's like. That's the first stage of water. Let's see what it's like. Oh yeah, that brings out the waxiness. Just that little bit of water there just starts giving you that waxiness where it kind of really coats your tongue and gives you slightly kind of a creamy kind of texture, not flavour, but a kind of slightly creamy texture, as if it's like coating everything. Yeah. We get a little bit of green apples, a little bit of vanilla, a little bit of spice, and a little bit of kind of, it's like kind of candied sugar. Yeah. I would say it's better with water. And I'm just giving it another wee level of water and see where that takes it. Maybe a honey, well, maybe that could be the thing. I don't know about the heather, I'm not really picking up heather, but it could be construed as honey, especially with the slight waxiness of it. It says candied fruits, well I'm getting slightly kind of candied sugar, could be construed as honey, vanilla, green apples. I'm not really getting citrus. I'm getting little hints of sweet malt, but you get that with all of them, especially if they're basically sherry casks, because that's what you start getting slightly kind of sweet malty tones. But no, I'm not getting. Maybe, no. I'm not getting ginger or clove. But I would say yes, I'm getting a little bit of vanilla, a little bit of spice. And it could be construed as honey or slight kind of toffee-ish or something like that, or slightly candied thing. They're the kind of main ones. But yeah, overall, it's actually quite nice. Definitely one I'm going to explore more. So I expect this bottle to be sitting on there with quite a bit over it. But let's get back onto this little sweetness. Let's break these flavours down. Start off with actually the malt level is quite nice. It's a nice little kind of nice level of pale malt with a nice little kind of caramel tones. A little bit of grain. Now, kind of an okay level of sweetness. Maybe a little bit on the sweeter side, but with the hops in there, it kind of balances itself out, especially in the mid-tongue. And yeah, it's just quite a nice, pleasant start. I'm not going to say it's wonderful or great or groundbreaking or a big bang, that type of stuff. It's just a nice, good, solid start. Moves on to the kind of mid-tongue, and again the flavours are kind of staying the kind of same type of intensity. Body-wise, it's quite nice. Like I said, the mouth feels quite nice as well, unless you try to guzzle it. And then you start getting some light kind of citrus tones, which are quite nice, quite manageable. Nothing kind of pithy or kind of overly bitter from that point of view. It's kind of nicely managed and it's working well with the kind of sweetness and the malty tones and a little bit of grain, just all over. It's actually not bad, it's actually quite pleasant in the mid-tongue. Unfortunately, when you get to the back end, You start getting a bit of the pininess. It's not lots of pine, but it's there, and if you're not into pine, it's kind of annoying, especially when all the other flavours kind of dissipate and the pine kind of lingers on a little bit longer, and that just kind of makes it, I mean, even though it's not really overly strong pininess, but because it's hanging about, and especially when all the other flavours dissipate, it's the last flavour you're kind of left with, and that's what is probably making it more annoying than it really should be. Especially for, excuse me, that must be the whiskey, that. Especially if you're like me, that not a real fan of pine. Just, no, it's not your cup of tea, you're not my cup of tea, you know. But I think it's one of these ones where the pine will slightly kind of die down a bit more as your mouth gets a little bit more acclimatised to it. Just a little bit, not too much. It will still kind of die down a little bit, but it's a lingering bit that kind of is always there. And yeah, that's the thing that probably for me spoils this beer. Because overall it's actually not a bad beer, you know, but I'm not a big fan of that. So what would I give this beer out of 10? Well, I'm trying to remember the price. It was around about kind of slightly just under £2 or something, I think it was. Up until the kind of pineness, it's actually not a bad beer. It's actually quite enjoyable and quite pleasant and everything else. Just that pininess that kind of spoils it. So, what to give it? I'm going to give it a score that people that aren't so adverse to the piney kind of tones and flavours might prefer this. The citrus, there's nothing bitterness, it's actually quite pleasant because of the sweetness and the way the kind of citrus works. It comes across a kind of sweet citrus rather than not overly sweet, but on the kind of slightly sweeter side. There's nothing kind of bitterness or pithiness about it. There's no kind of sourness to it. But apart from that pininess at the back end. So on that, I'm going to give it a 5.5 out of 10. It was an alright beer. I mean, if it didn't have the pininess, I'd probably give it maybe closer to a 6. But I think 5.5 is me kind of being fair to it. I mean, it's actually an okay beer. I'm not a big fan of piney back ends, and especially if it slightly lingers, it's just like, oh god. It means I can't get away from it, you know. So yeah, so it's 5%. It's 500ml bottle. It's roughly about the £2 mark or slightly under, but I'll put all the details down below. You know I'm going to do that anyway. And yeah, it's a 5.5 out of 10. This whiskey is quite nice. I will not recommend it yet because I'll need a couple of drams on it to kind of work out. You know, whiskey takes a wee while to kind of discover the flavours. It's not one of these ones. It's an easy one to do in one session. It depends what mood you're in, depends how tired you are, and all this type of stuff. Depends what you've been eating. It takes a wee while to kind of pick up what's going on with a whiskey. That's why it's a case of those people that kind of taste a whiskey straight off and oh, it's this, that and the other, and it's all wonderful, and then that's it, they've done their job. No, whiskey is a very personal drink, and different people will get different things from it, and they'll get different things on it at different times depending how the mood they're in and how they're feeling and everything else. So yeah, it's quite a complex drink, and it's not just as easy as beer to kind of, you know, highlight the flavours. But yeah, so it's 5.5 out of 10. Thanks for watching. Cheers, and bye for now.